Section 2.6, Multiplication of Fractions and Mixed Numbers, which means no LCD. Let's try an example. Multiply 2/3 times 4/5. When you multiply fractions, you literally multiply across on the top and multiply across on the bottom. So you're going to multiply 2 times 4 and multiply 3 times 5. This is completely different from adding and subtracting fractions. So if we multiply, we end up with 8/15. Let's try another example. 3/4 times 14/15. In this particular situation, there's actually two ways you can approach the problem. Let's do this problem by multiplying the way we did the last problem. So 3 times 14, which is 42, over 4 times 15, which is 60. So at this point, we have 42/60. Notice, however, that fraction 42/60 can be reduced by dividing the top and bottom of the fraction by 6. So our final answer is 7/10. The reason I mentioned that this can be done a different way is because there's something known as cross-reducing. So what you want to do is cross-reduce fractions when you're multiplying, if possible. You can only use this method with multiplication. You cannot use this method for addition, subtraction, or even division. So let's go back to the original problem. What you want to do is look at 3 and 15 or 3 and 4. Okay, let's start with 3 and 15. Do 3 and 15 have any common factors? And in other words, can we reduce? Yes, they both have a common factor of 3. 3 and 4 do not, so we don't have to worry about that one. 14 can be cross-reduced with 4, or we could also simplify 14/15. 14 and 4 can both divide by 2, so those can be reduced as well. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to divide 3 by 3, which gives us 1, and we're also going to divide 15 by the same number, 3, so we end up with 5. So both 3 and 15 were divided by 3, so we cross-reduced 3/15 and got 1/5. Make sure that when you cross-reduce, you have to take one number from the numerator with one number from the denominator. You cannot have both numbers be on the top or both numbers be on the bottom. And then in terms of 14/4, both divisible by 2. So 14 divided by 2 gives us 7. And then 4 divided by 2 gives us 2. So that's cross-reducing. Once you're done cross-reducing, you can multiply like you normally do. You just multiply across on the top and multiply across on the bottom. So 1 times 7 gives you 7, and 2 times 5 gives you 10. And once you cross-reduce as much as you can, your final answer will be in lowest terms, so 7/10. Okay, let's try example 1. 4/21 times 7/44. So if you wanted to, you could multiply straight across 4 times 7 and 21 times 44. Although 21 times 44 isn't the nicest multiplication problem to do. However, we can cross-reduce. We can actually cross-reduce 4 and 44 and 7 and 21. So let's start by cross-reducing 4 and 44. 4 and 44 are both divisible by, well, they're divisible by 2, but the GCF between the two is 4. So divide 4 by 4 and 44 by 4. So we end up with 1/11, so that's lowest terms. We can also cross-reduce 7 and 21. 7 and 21 have a common factor of 7, so 7 divided by 7 is 1, and 21 divided by 7 is 3. So our final answer would be 1 times 1 over 3 times 11, so 1/33. Example 2, find the product of 7/12 and 5/6. Notice I have the word product highlighted. The word product means multiplication. So going back a little bit, the word sum means to add, the word difference means to subtract, and the word product means to multiply. So we're going to do 7/12 times 5/6. Ask yourself, is there any way we can cross-reduce? Can 7 and 6 cross-reduce? No, they cannot. You might even want to try 7/12 itself. Can that fraction itself reduce? No, it cannot. Now look at the number 5. Can 5 cross-reduce with 12? Nope. And can the fraction 5/6 reduce? Nope. So we are left to multiplication. 7 times 5 over 12 times 6. So we have 35 over 72, and that is our final answer. Example 3. What is 5/16 times 12/25? That's simply multiplication, so 5 over 16 times 12 over 25. You'll notice in this particular scenario we can cross-reduce both ways. 5 over 25 can reduce to 1/5. In other words, we're dividing both 5 and 25 by 5. And then 12 and 16, the largest number that goes into both of them is 4. So 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. Finally, let's multiply 1 times 3 over 4 times 5. So we end up with 3/20 as our final answer. What happens if you are asked to multiply two mixed numbers together, or a mixed number and a whole number, or a mixed number and a fraction? Anytime you come across a mixed number in terms of multiplication or division, the very first thing you want to do is convert the mixed number or numbers into improper fractions. That is first and foremost. So 2 2/3 converts into 8/3, and 4 1/4 converts to 17/4. So that's what we have here. And then you multiply like you normally would. Well, let's start by asking ourselves, can we cross-reduce at all? 8 and 4 can cross-reduce, and they both divide by 4. So we will have 8 divided by 4, which gives us 2, and 4 divided by 4, which gives us 1. 17 and 3 do not cross-reduce, and then the fractions themselves cannot reduce any further. So our final answer is 2 times 17, which is 34 over 3 times 1, which is 3. So 34/3, or if you would like to, you can convert back into a mixed number, which would give you 11 and 1/3. Let's try an example involving a mixed number with a whole number. Just like I said before, anytime you have a mixed number, you want to convert it to an improper fraction, so that would be 27 over 8. And in terms of the whole number, anytime you're working with a whole number in conjunction with other fractions, you want to turn that whole number into a fraction by placing it over 1. So we now have 27 over 8 times 4 over 1. So now we can multiply. Can we cross-reduce at all? Yes, 8 and 4 can cross-reduce. Both are divisible by 4. So we end up with 8 becoming 2 and 4 becoming 1. So we have 27 times 1 and 2 times 1. So we end up with 27 over 2. And if you would like to, you can write it as a mixed number, so 13 and 1/2. One thing I do want to mention, in terms of multiplication, you cannot do the same thing that you do with addition and subtraction. You cannot multiply 3 by 4 and get 12, and then multiply 3/8 times whatever would be attached to the 4, if anything at all. You must do it the way that I showed you in this particular clip. Example 1, 5 2/5 times 5/9. Start by converting 5 2/5 into an improper fraction. We end up with 27 over 5. So we have 27 over 5 times 5/9. We can cross-reduce 27 and 9, both divisible by 9. So we end up with 3 and 1. 5 and 5 can cross-reduce, both divisible by 5. We end up with 1 and 1. So our final answer is 3 times 1 over 1 times 1. So we end up with 3 over 1. 3 over 1 is simply 3. Example 2. Find the product of 3 2/5 and 6 1/4. Again, the word product means to multiply. Also, we're working with mixed numbers, so let's convert them to improper fractions. 3 2/5 converts to 17/5, and 6 1/4 converts to 25 over 4. So we have 17/5 times 25 over 4. The only numbers that cross-reduce in this particular case are 25 and 5, both divisible by 5, so we end up with 5 over 1. When we multiply across, we get 17 times 5, which equals 85, and 1 times 4, which equals 4. So we have 85 over 4, or you can convert it into a mixed number, which is 21 and 1/4.